إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله اللهم صل على أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير الأعمال حي على خير الأعمال الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم اجعل قلبي بارا وعملي سارا وشقارا ورزق زارا وولادي أبرارا واجعل عند قبر النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقرا بقرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم كما قال عز شأن كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه معاصي العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وعروة وثقى فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الدين عند الله الإسلام صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I begin by advising myself and all of you, practice the taqwa of Allah and the piety as is the best of provisions. The verse that I recited on the cusp and the threshold of the beginning of Ayyam Aza and Muharram al-Haram, inshallah we prepare ourselves for the arrival of the beginning of the first month in the Islamic lunar calendar. And while many nations begin their New Year's by celebrations, we begin our New Year with this solemn commemoration. And while people in the world look forward to the beginning of the new year because they set resolutions for it and they expect some change and something new as the number of the year changes, we too anticipate, we too await for the beginning of the Islamic New Year, not necessarily for the sake of any celebrations, but what it begins with and what we attain from it and what our aqaid are associated with it, our beliefs, we anticipate the beginning of Ayyam Aza and Muharram al-Haram. We begin and we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for once again having given us the opportunity to be able to serve Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam Hussein ibn Ali, alayhi salatu wasalam, his cause and what he stood for, and to be able to revive the teachings of the martyrs of Karbala so that you and I can once again deliver that message for which those sacred lives were sacrificed. Beginning of the new Islamic month, from the first day, it's not celebratory, it's not something where we are celebrating. It is where we are commemorating. Our hearts are in slumber. It is solemn commemoration, of course, is not for any emotional reasons per se. It is for the sake of the grandson of the Prophet of Islam, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. And therefore I would urge, while our brethren within the maktab of Ahl Tashayyu, they keep Muharram in their minds. If I can just have some silence in the back as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sab baith jaye. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad. That while our brothers and sisters, they make sure that these ayyam, they refrain from any sort of celebrations. We, for 2 months, if your child has a birthday, you overlook that. You don't plan any, celebrations, weddings, or all of those things are postponed. For 2.5 months, you forget about all of your joyful occasions. Even if they maybe happen to fall, such as the birthdays, you overlook them. Why? Because what we have on hand is far more superior than what our own celebrations are all about. So therefore, I will urge my Sunni brothers as well, that while Muharram may not have the similar understanding for them, although the martyrdom of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Imam Hussein is not per se belongs to the Shias. No, Imam Hussein is for the entire Ummat. Imam Hussein is for all of mankind. Imam Hussein is not exclusive for the Shias, right? If you follow the Nabi of Islam, then how can you not look at the grandchildren of Nabi of Islam? How can you overlook the tragedy of the daughter of Nabi of Islam, right? So this is how I explain when sometimes people within our own faith, they ask this question. Within our own maktab, they ask this question, and as well as those of our brothers in Ahl Sunnah, they ask this question. That Maulana, there's a wedding that is happening, for example, 15th or 16th of Muharram. Of our, Sunni friends, can we attend, for example, such gatherings? So my response, and this year someone actually did ask, there's someone's wedding on the 12th. Now, of course, we don't condemn this because they are probably not fully aware of the intensity and the gravity of Ayyam Azad the way you and I are, right? They don't realize the intensity and the gravity of it. That's why they don't have that sort of feeling about it. They do, spend the day of Ashura in very solemn manner. In their riwayat, they urge on fasting, and all that stuff is good. But beyond that, it is usually, you follow the Maktab of Ahl Tashayyu who continues this, after the Ashura, the Soyam of Imam Hussain, the Jahlum of Imam Hussain, and it ends with, in the month of, end of Safar or month of Rabiul Awwal. So someone asked me, Maulana, can we attend the wedding of our, Sunni friend, very close friends? Because there are a lot of friendships. In fact, there are a lot of intermarriages as well. So this is where someone would be stuck in this situation. What do we do? And I gave them this answer. I said, imagine if in your family a grandson had died, right, 2 days ago, and today would be the third day after the passing of the grandson. In your family, would you be thinking about going to the wedding? I said, absolutely not. He said, when in your family a grandson or a grandchild dies, you have such, emotions where you don't even think about joyful occasions, let alone a wedding where you'll be going to have a good time. That's in the past. You don't think about it. He said, then how can you forget? This is not just an ordinary grandson. This is the grandson of the Holy Prophet. So with that understanding, keep your gatherings as solemn as possible. And not just in the month of Muharram and Safar. In fact, outside of these months also, we should not forget that Muharram and Safar is bringing about this sort of, it imposes upon us that we cannot do certain things. What does that mean? That mean after the month of Muharram, those things become halal again? So many things, yes, we impose upon ourselves, like avoiding the gatherings of entertainment, halal entertainment when I say that. We avoid those gatherings in the 2 months. We make it haram upon ourselves. Sharia does not say it's haram, right? Nowhere do you find in Sharia that it is forbidden. But we impose it upon ourselves because of the love that we have for Ahlul Bayt and Sayyidul Shuhada. But after the month, we say, well, month of Muharram is over now. Let's go back to Lahav and La'ab. Let's go back to Khush Guzarani, and let's go back to having a good time, even if there's some haram in it. No. Whatever is haram outside of Muharram is still haram. Whatever is haram within the month of Muharram al-Haram is haram. So that doesn't change. But we're beyond haram over here, right? We're talking about things that we are allowed to do, yet we choose not to do because of the respect that we have for this Ayyam-e-Azha. Prophet drew a straight path, Sirat-e-Mustaqim, but soon after the death of Rasulullah in the 11th year after Hijrah, we find what happens, the divide that comes about. And within 50 years, that grandson of the Prophet who used to climb on his back, who Prophet used to hug him closely, keep him close to his chest, loved him dearly, make him sit on his lap while giving the khutbah, stop his khutbah, care for him that much, showing him, whoever didn't know who it was, says, if you don't know who it is, now let me introduce who this person is. Person for whom Rasulullah has said such words which are muttafaq alayh in the riwayat of Shia and the Sunni books of Ahadith. You'll find these in Sihah Sitta as well. That Husaynun minni wa ana min al-Husayn. That Hussein is from me and I'm from Hussein. Innal Husayna misbahul huda wa safinatun najah. You find these riwayat in both books. When nobody can deny the personality of Sayyid al-Shuhada, then how do you justify what took place in the 61st year after Hijrah? But here, I'm not here to give that historical lesson. My discussion is primarily that when we know Imam Hussain and his family were treated how one would treat animals, and they were massacred in the plains of Karbala, and they gave their lives, what is the proper way of commemorating that great shahadat of Imam? Here we have this ethical analysis of Karbala. We need that reform because every year you find there's so many things that are associated with this azah that have no place or room in this azah. There's so many things that are associated with the majalis that have no room for majalis. If our forefathers were here not too long ago, those who were there in the 70s and the 60s, they come and they look at the way we have our majlis and the things that are done in our majlis, they won't even sit in it. How we have drastically changed the face of Azai Hussaini, which was supposed to be a place of people of all walks of life, coming, sitting for that common cause, shedding tears on the musibat of Imam Hussain and learning things from Quran and Hadith. That's the shape of it that was always there, and that has been changed. Now there are few elements that I wanted to run by quickly with this muqaddimah. Number one, the social elements we need to look at as to how can the society degrade to the maqam when they had seen Imam Hussain in the arms of Rasulullah. There are still those ashab alive in the 61st year who had seen this with their own eyes. And there's no denial that Rasulullah has this daughter. You want to associate other daughters with Rasulullah, fine. But nobody denies the daughter of Rasulullah, Fatmatul Zahra. And then there's a child by the name Hassan and there's a child by the name Hussein. Nobody denies that. Hassanain Karimain, as they call it, right? So when everybody realizes, then what led to the society being at this tanazzul, at this downfall, where now they are going to go ahead and shed the blood of Prophet's grandson. Number one, the social element. Ayat number 61 of Surah Baqarah says, ضُرِبَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الذِّلَّةُ وَالْمَسْكَنَةُ. Despised and afflicted with destitution, they brought the wrath of Allah back upon themselves. These ayat are for the perpetrators of such crimes. They brought this adab back onto themselves. For they denied the evidence of the existence of Allah and murdered His prophets without reason. They were disobedient transgressors. The only difference in this ayat and what we're talking about is they murdered the children of the prophets. While the ayat says they murdered the children, they murdered the prophets, we're speaking about they murdered the kids and the children of the prophets. So that's the first social element which led to the corruption of the society at that time, where they can't tell from right to wrong. Number two, being away from deen. That is one of the reasons why a person would commit such atrocity, being away from it. Lack of recognition of the imam of your time. Just the same way you and I have lack of, recognition of imam of our time. And third, lack of knowledge, ignorance. And lastly, lack of justice and oppression. So let's look at each one of these quickly. Being away from deen. I recited this ayat in the beginning, in the deena, in the lahil, Islam. Islam, submission, is the deen in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Deen which came to teach the way of life, following it guarantees perfection. Drifting away from it becomes the reason for humiliation. This is why Imam Hussain said, وَقَدْ بَعَثْتَ رَسُولِي إِلَيْكُمْ. To the people of Kufa, Imam Hussain wrote this letter. بِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ. You wrote this letter to me, you sent this nama to me. أَنَا عَدُؤُكُمْ إِلَى كِتَابِ اللَّهِ وَسُنَّةِ نَبِيهِ. Is that I, invite you to the book of Allah and the sunnah of His Nabi. فَإِنَّ السُنَّةَ قَدْ أُمِيتَتْ. Why am I inviting you to the sunnah? Because the sunnah of Rasulullah has been destroyed, annihilated. And then he says, وَإِنَّ الْبِدْعَةَ قَدْ أُحْيِيَتْ. These are the words of Imam Hussain. And indeed, bid'ah and innovation has been revived and given birth. وَإِن تَسْمَعُوا قَوْلِي وَتُطِيعُوا أَمْرِي أَهْدِكُمْ سَبِيلَ الرَّشَادِ. Well, I'll come to you. For your guidance, I will come to you. The Prophet's sunnah is dissolved while the heresies are revived. And then Imam continues with this khutbah. Of course, I'm running out of my time, so I won't go in the depths of it. Number two, lack of recognition of Islam. and the lack of recognition of Imam as well. Islam, and then the one who is responsible for it in the form of Imam. They don't recognize the Imam. Why do you think Imam Hussein in all of his khutubat was saying from the very beginning, Ana Hussein ibn Ali, Ana Hussein ibn Fatima bint Rasulullah? Why does he need to keep on reminding people who he is? Why does he keep on introducing himself to the people? Do they not know? And I say this quite often, that while we think that we know Imam Hussein, do you think Shimr didn't know Imam Hussein? You think Umar ibn Saad did not know Imam Hussein? Do you think Khuli did not know Imam Hussein? Do you think all those people who are present, some of them were the same age as Imam Hussein? They grew up in places together. Many of them were in Siffin. And so they're long and standing together. So they well know Imam Hussein. They know who he is exactly. But what is the problem here? Lack of recognition of Imam. Following the responsibilities of Wali and Imam, who is protecting the deen, who is guiding the people, and the social political governance. They don't see Imam Hussein as the Imam of the Ummah. They see Imam Hussein as an ordinary individual who's, yes, related to the Prophet of Islam. So yes, he's an important personality. But what they're lacking is the lack of recognition that he's the Imam of the time. His hukum has the same value as the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The way you would obey Rasulullah, you would obey Hussein ibn Ali as well. We can understand the concept of vilayat and its importance from the verse of Surah Ma'idah, and as well as Ayah Balligh that you just heard a few days ago during the celebrations of Ghadir, in which Allah is telling the Prophet that if this is not announced, you have not conveyed. فَإِلَّمْ تَفْعَلْ فَمَا بَلَّغْتَ رِسَالَتَهُ. What did he have to announce that he hasn't announced in 23 years? It was the concept of imamat and the wilayah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, this is the second part of the khutbah, which I will quickly go through. If with your permission, I'll take a few extra more minutes of your time. What are our duties during Muharram? This is important, brothers and sisters who are listening, inshallah. That the only ibadat that is accepted, which is done with sincerity, khulus, and taqarrub, are the conditions for the acceptance of this azah. You come with khulus, you come with sincerity, you come in order to be gaining qurb of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Majlis-e-Azah, unfortunately, I'm not saying Majlis-e-Azah is doing this. If there's a majlis which is keeping you away from qurb-e-ilahi, and there's no khulus and sincerity in it, there might be some elements which are accepted of it, but the whole thing may not be accepted. Our majalis and our intentions, all this is due to that great sacrifice. Always keep that in mind. Majalis are a great asset for our ummah, a great way of learning and continuing this concept of education alive. No other madhab has this maktab-e-azah that you and I have. No other maktab has 2 months of continuous learning. All walks of life, all people, different age groups. So, well, by the time you're 40 years old, you say, well, I'm done studying. No. اطلبوا العلم من المهد إلى اللحد. Learn from your cradle till your grave. Guess what? This maktab is the only one which is teaching a 90-year-old in Majlis-e-Azah. I'm not saying 90-year-old is the dead is going to die soon, but I'm saying that's the end of the life. 90, 95, 100, however long Allah gives you life. But you find the mothers who bring their 6-month-old with them, and then you find a 90-year-old sitting in the Majlis-e-Azah as well. If there's any manifestation of this hadith of Rasul, utlubul ilm min al-mahdi ila al-lahad, this is it. Majlis-e-Azah. Because you got all different age groups sitting in the same farsh-e-azah. And everybody is gaining something from this farsh-e-azah. It's not just for this particular group or that particular group or this age group or that age group. Everyone benefits from it. So there are objectives of this majlis. Number one, tarbiyat of the community. Those who are Muslims by tongue should embrace through their actions. Why did Imam die? Did he die for fame, for money, for revenge, for power, for other personal agenda? No. Imam was there only to protect the religion. So these majalis should bring people closer to the deen and not deter them away. If Imam sacrificed so that deen could remain, why are we doing something by which we are saying the deen is really does not matter to us? Explain the status of Masumeen. People have hard time understanding the real maqam of Masum. So embrace and accept and explain, but keeping within the limits that Masum himself has explained. Imam said, halaka fiyya rajulan, muhibbun ghalin wa mubghizun qalin. Two types of people are perished over me. Amirul Mu'mineen in Nahjul Balagha. The one who loved me so much that he became ghali, nusayri, associated uluhiyat to me, na'udhu billah, calling me sharik of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those who degraded me so much that they were the hatred that they had for me. Those both groups are what? Destroyed and perished. Nothing to do with them. So let's not be part of any of those two extremes. Explain the maqam and the status of Masum so that those who are mukhalif, they also learn these fadail and hear these fadail of Masumeen, and they also become muwafiq. You know, those who have ikhtilaf, they will have ittifaq at the end of Ayyam Azha. By hearing these true fadail of Ahlul Bayt, they sacrifice, it's enough. We shouldn't destroy it for our personal vendetta. Imam Hussain, shahadat was enough, that we don't need to keep on doing more for it so that we, na'udhu billah, martyr Imam Hussain every single year. What do I mean by that? Someone might say, well, Maulana, this is confusing. That Imam Hussain, you know, sometimes you hear things from the mimbar just for the sake of, you know, getting more and more wahwa maybe sometimes, or getting more and more musibat and masaib so that people cry more. How many of us have studied the maqatil? Some of you may have. But who's checking? I stand over here, I'll recite a musibah. But those who have grown up in this maktab, they have heard all the masaib. If they hear something that they have not heard before, right away they'll be able to point it out. Now hold on a second. I've been listening to majalis for 40 years. This does not sound right to me. You are able to say that. You're able to point out what is not right because it just doesn't seem right. But you find these nitne masaib as if Imam Hussein's musibat was not enough, that we need to create more musibat. Right? And so therefore, point out these things. Because these things, you might say, well, okay, fine, you know, and while reciting the khatib in this musibat got carried away, so okay, that's it. You will digest it. But now don't expect the youngsters to digest this. If anything is going to turn them off from it, I said, what are they talking about? This stuff, they got to be kidding. They can't be serious about this stuff, right? Sometimes these sort of things are mentioned from the member. And then a person who's got this amama and who's got this credibility, when he's saying such stuff, then of course, these kids, and then those who are not, you know, part of this azan normally, they're coming for the first time, they're coming because of their friend, they're coming because of their spouse. When they hear these sort of things, fairy tales, then they're going to get turned off. So keep the masaib real. There's enough in those masaib when you talk about the heart-wrenching masaib of Ali Akbar on the 9th of Muharram. It is enough that there was this, you know, dagger that went into the chest of Ali Akbar. Pulling it out was difficult for Sayyid al-Shuhada. That's enough of a musibat. You don't have to dramatize this further. To create things of your own imagination to get more cheers out of it. Sorry, I'm taking too much of your time. I'll bring you towards conclusion. There are 3 groups that are part of this azah. First is Zakir Majlis. Second is Sami'i Majlis. Third is Bani Majlis. Zakir is the speaker. Sami is the audience, you and I. And then Bani is the host. All three have individual responsibilities. Host's responsibility is very important. They want to make sure they can take the ummah in whichever direction they want. Just by selecting and choosing people they prefer to put on the minbar so they can deliver the message. They have a very strong hold. They have the vital role in the community. They're Bani. They can take the community in any which direction they want to. Number two, the Dhakir. So many fadail of the Dhakir of Imam Hussain. And Dhakir is not just the one who's giving the majlis. Even those who are reciting the Marsiya and the Noha and all those people. In any which way, form that you are part of it. You're all Dhakireen in majlis. Their role is also important. And lastly, the Sami, your role. As the active audience of the dhikr of Sayyid al-Shuhada, sitting on this farsh. But there's one thing that is common between all three groups. Bani, the host, Dhakir, the speaker, and the Sami, the audience. Three groups of people that are part of this azah, one common ground. Khulus, sincerity. If the Bani hosts this majlis with khulus, no matter what happens, that's all that is needed. If the speaker speaks with khulus, and if the Sami attends the majlis with khulus and sincerity, guess what? This is the majlis which is accepted. Then what will happen? So, Maulana, maza nahi aaya is majlis mein. There might be hundreds and thousands of people in the crowd. You were able to please thousands of people. Mohsin Karati said, you pleased thousands of people, but you didn't please 15. He said, who are these 15? He said, 1 Allah and 14 Masoom. He said, I pleased thousands of people were satisfied. Thousands were satisfied, 15 were not satisfied. He said, what's 15 is a very small number. I was able to please thousands of people. No, if you didn't please these, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the 14 Masoom, then all your efforts have zero value whatsoever. Inshallah, we'll continue with this discussion. I apologize in advance if I took your time. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give us the tawfiq and ability that these ayam azah, we come to the majlis with khulus to cause reform in ourselves. Every single one of us needs reform. We're all on that edge where we slip here and there. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on the path of Sayyid al-Shuhada, inshallah. Inna asl hadith wa ablagh al-mawida kitabullah a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim bismillahir rahmanir rahim wal asr innal insana lafi khusrin illa alladhina amanu wa amilus solihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه وبسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلم نفسا إلا دون وسعها أفان السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد ولا ماسي لعباد إلا كرما وجودا وعلى كثرة الذنوب إلا عفوا وصفا نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو لطوف على العباد بجوده والعباد والمذنبين بحلمه ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين على قد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا لسفيه إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيدة النساء العالمين وبذة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليه وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء ولي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر ولي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي ولي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي آثار البدع والطغيان हादिम अब्न शिरक व निफाक हासिद फ़रूल बग़ व शिक़ाक़ सलवातुल्लाहि व सलामुहु अलैहि व अला आबाइल किराम तस्लत लैल व अय्याम अल्लाहुम्मा अज्जिल फ़रजा व साहिल मख़रजा वक़्हुल नाज़िरना बिनज़रतिन मिन्ना इलैहि वजअलना मिनल मुस्तशहदीन बैन यदैहि व तफ़द्दल अला उमराइल मुमिनीन बिमज़ीदित तौफ़ीक़ात व इज़दियादिल इक़बाल व उलुव्विद दरजात अल्लाहुम्मा फ़अल बिना मा अंता अहलु व ला तफ़अल बिना मा नहनु अहलु बिजाहि मुहम्मदिन व आलिहिल मासूमीन सलवातुल्लाहि अलैहिम अजमईन। मजलिस में यज़्कुरु फ़तनल्लाह यअमुरु बिल अदल वल व इताइ ज़िल क़ुरबा व यनहा अनिल फ़हशाइ वल मुनकर वल बग़ी यइज़ुकुम लअल्लकुम तज़क्करून। अल्लाहु अकबर अशहदु अन ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह अशहदु अन ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह अशहदु अन्न मुहम्मदर रसूलुल्लाह अशहदु अन्न मुहम्मदर रसूलुल्लाह अशहदु अन्न अलिय्यन वलियुल्लाह अशहदु अन्न अलिय्यन हुज्जतुल्लाह हय्य अलस सलाति हय्य अलस सलाह हय्य अलल फलाह हय्य अलल फलाह हय्य अला खैरिल अमल हय्य अला खैरिल अमल क़द क़ामतिस सलातु क़द क़ामतिस सलाह अल्लाहु अकबर ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह अल्लाहु अकबर। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन अर्रहमानिर्रहीम मालिकि यौमिद्दीन इय्याका नअबुदु व इय्याका नस्तईन इहदिनस सिरातल मुस्तकीम सिरातल लज़ीना अनअमता अलैहिम गैरिल मग़दूबि अलैहिम वलद्दॉल्लीन। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम युसब्बिहु लिल्लाहि मा फ़िस समावाति व मा फ़िल अर्द الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائمة قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة لابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتع فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salamun alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jummah Mubarak to you all. Let's recognize the sponsors for today's Jummah lunch. It is the family of Brother Sayyid Muhammad Abbas Rizvi. Please recite the Surah Fatiha for his deceased relatives as well as yours. Surah Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد قل هو الله الله الصمد لم يلد ولم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Just quickly announcements tonight inshallah there will be Isa Sawab Majlis for Marhum Dr. Amir Sayyid, son of Mr. Imtiaz Sayyid. Majlis will start at 7 p.m. with Quran Khani, 8 o'clock Majlis Aza, and inshallah followed by Namaz-e-Maghriban. And dinner inshallah will be served. Inshallah keep the timing in mind tonight, Friday night, inshallah Majlis will take place. Tomorrow, Saturday, July 15th, inshallah, there will be Eid Mubahila Jashan celebrations here. This program is Urdu only, and this program will start with Namaz-e-Maghriban at 8:46 p.m. After Namaz-e-Maghriban, inshallah, there will be poets from outside, Mukhtar Hassan Fatehpuri and others, inshallah, will be presenting. So therefore, you're requested, if you come here, inshallah, for namaz-e-maghrib, so the program can start right on time and it doesn't have to be further delayed, inshallah. Salat Fajr on Saturday and Sunday, inshallah, will take place at 4:30 a.m. On Saturday, we will have Quran recitation followed by tafsir of Quran and, inshallah, breakfast. Similarly, on Sunday, we will have namaz at 4:30 followed by Dua Sabah, Ziyarat Ashura, and, inshallah, we will have the breakfast. Muharram al-Aram, inshallah, the Ashra will begin from July 18th until July 30th. So the first Ashra of Muharram al-Haram, 19th most likely will be the first of Muharram, but Majalis will inshallah start from 18th, and the details will be sent out in the email. But the program, as my understanding is, that it will start with namaz-e-maghrib, and as the time of Maghrib is coming down every single day, program will start sharp with namaz Maghrib, followed by Majlis Aza, inshallah. Sadiq School is having PTO. Sadiq School PTO is selling different food items. You can see the bake sale outside for Muharram items, as well as ticket for chai and ice cream. Do take advantage of that and all their efforts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them more tawfiq as they continue to, mashallah, show that they put up this every week, mashallah, and it's efforts by these volunteers. So loud nara salawat for all of them, inshallah. Couple of other deaths that happened in the community. One is there's a request for Surah Fatiha for Farhanda Naqvi, mother of Dr. Hassan, who died yesterday, I believe, and in Allentown. She'll be buried today, or has already been buried in Allentown today. And also brother Hassan Haider from our New Jersey community, who also passed away today. Both of these marhumin, keep them in your prayers and recite a Surah Fatiha for the deceased. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. At the end, let's recite dua sehat for all of those people who are in need of dua, those who are suffering, struggling, going through a difficult time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring them out of their difficulty. Let's recite this ayah karima 5 times. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su. 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 أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. Forgot to mention youth program, inshallah, tonight. Every Friday night we have the Quran Academy and the youth program in the gym. So program starts, you know the timing. Instead of having the Quran Academy over here, inshallah, it'll be in the men's hall because we'll have a majlis going on. And then after that, kids will go, inshallah, to the Sadiq School gym for futsal and other activities. So keep that in mind, inshallah. That program is on for tonight. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام، وأسأله أن يتوب علي توبة عبد ذليل خاضع فقير باعث مسكين مستقيم مستجير، لا يملك لنفسه نفعا ولا ضرا ولا موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشبع، ومن قلب لا يخشى، ومن علم لا ينفع، ومن صلاة لا ترفع، ومن دعاء لا يسمع. اللهم إني أسألك اليسر بعد العسر، والفرج بعد الكرب، والرخاء بعد الشدة. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك، لا إله إلا أنت، أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Mutawajjah Ziyarat with reference to Eid Mubarak and Nuzul Surah Dar, we said the Ziyarat of Janab Sayyida. Bismillah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum ya Nabi Allah, Assalamu alaikum ya Amir al-Mu'minin, ya Qasim al-Jannat wa Nar. Assalamu alaikum bint Nabiyillah, ya bint Habibillah, ya bint Khalilillah, ya bint Safiyillah, ya bint Aminillah, ya bint Khair Khalqillah. Assalamu alaikum ya bint Afzal al-Anbiya Allah wa Rasulihi wa Malaika. Assalamu alaikum bint Khair al-Bariyah. Assalamu alaikum Sayyidina Sallallahu Alameen min al-awwalin wal akhirin. Assalamu alaikum Zayd walillah wa khair khalqi ba'd Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum al-Hasan wal Husain Sayyid Shabab al-Jannah. Assalamu alaikum Siddiqatu Shahida. Assalamu alaikum Raziyat al-Marziyah. Assalamu alaikum al-Fadil al-Zakiyah. Assalamu alaikum al-Hawr al-Insiyah. Assalamu alaikum Tuqiyatu Nakiyah. Assalamu alaikum Ayyat al-Muhaddath al-Alima. Assalamu alaikum al-Mazlumat al-Makhsuba. Assalamu alaikum al-Mustahrahat al-Makhura. Assalamu alaikum Fatima bint Rasulullah wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum ya Ahl al-Bayt an-Nubuwwah jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, ya Khalifat ar-Rahman, ya Imam al-Insi wal Jan, ya Kaabat al-Iman, ya Tafsil al-Furqan. Assalamu alaikum Sharik al-Quran, ya Mazhar al-Iman. Assalamu alaikum ya Imam Zamanana, ajjal Allah farajak wa sahla lahu makhrajak wa zuhurak wa